Welcome back to the Extra Rep Podcast, guys. I'm Josh.
I'm Liam.
So today what we're going to go through is overrated and underrated health investments. So you would have seen this, all over social media, friends, family, etc. There's going to be a lot of things that, can be underrated for your health. And then, of course, a lot of things that are going to be overrated for your health. And again, this is going to depend on the person, depend on the situation. So we're going to try and obviously give a bit of nuance here to, are these overrated or underrated for certain types of people? But we want to also give, a general overview, is something worth your money? Is it not? Yeah. And are there better ways to go into a couple of things as well? So I think the first one I want to talk about, and that always gets people fired up, is the cold therapy, the ice baths.
This is a good one to start on because, and this goes for the whole podcast we're going to talk about, right? Everyone is on their phone 24/7 and ads pop up for everything, whether it be an e-commerce product that has all these claims and all these fake reviews and AI written comments and everything. And, one person on a podcast who's respected says, ice baths have, this benefit. So everyone goes, I'm going to spend $500 on a cold plunge or $1,000 or however much it may be and do it in the middle of winter.
Yeah, it's funny. I reckon most people, they might listen to the podcast now and they'll probably start getting ads for some of the things that we might have talked about as well, which is quite interesting. But I think when it comes to, ice baths, there's a lot of research that, people say, it helps with brown fat and oxidization and things like that. And, a lot of the other researchers, a lot of the other researchers now come out. I know Menno, he did one really recently to basically say that they actually increase fat storage potentially. And again, I haven't read through the study, so I'm not going to say it's 100% this or that. But I think if I'm going to put it into a bracket, it would be in the overrated bracket. And that is, basically because of the cost. And I always say to the body, if you're jumping in an ice bath and you get out and you feel good, right? That's because your body's not in a fucking ice bath anymore. That's why you're feeling good. I'm sure there's some research behind some certain things, but I'm not saying, don't do it if you don't want to do it. The one thing you need to be worried about is the hypertrophy response. So if you are training and then jumping in an ice bath, that's going to really blunt that response. So it is not ideal if you're looking to grow muscle, which most of you should be, of course, in the gym. So if you do like it, awesome. If it helps you chill out, awesome. But I would keep it as far away from the training window as possible. And for those reasons, I would classify it as overrated.
Yeah, I would too. Honestly, there are some things around the vagus nerve stimulation and sort of mental fortitude and resilience to stress and stuff. But as you mentioned, it's people get that really dopamine high release of just not being in an ice bath. So it's a huge relief. And then they get that accomplishment of I did something really hard. So I did this and, my body fought me and it told me to get out at 30 seconds and I stayed in for 45 seconds. And then I learned to regulate my nervous system by doing all these breathing exercises and everything like that. But at the end of the day, I really don't believe people are getting as many benefits for it as they think. I mean, we're now seeing that heat exposure is becoming way more beneficial in terms of everything that you just mentioned of muscle growth, fat loss, stress management, all that stuff. So yeah, cold doesn't seem to be the way to go.
Well, I think we may as well go from there to the infrared sauna. I think that's a really good place to go. Obviously, disclaimer, I'm a bit biased because I currently have one sitting in my garage that I use. But the reason I do like the infrared sauna, the main thing for me is literally that's my de-stress time. I'm able to sit in there, heart rate goes up, I sweat more than I normally would, of course, and that helps with detoxification and a few other things. Especially I was getting sick a lot, so that's obviously helped with that as well. But the main benefit I find from that is literally just having half an hour off social media, being able to read a book, being able to take my time, then obviously having a shower afterwards. That's
so interesting to me.
That a different man.
With all the benefits of a sauna, right? The biggest one you find is, I'm not on my phone.
Yeah.
And just calming down. I just find that so interesting this day and age. It's there are so many benefits to the mitochondria with the infrared sauna and just that infrared light for skin detoxification, because a lot of people, unfortunately, genetic wise, their detox pathways are blocked, methylation issues are blocked, it can find it really hard. Toxic heavy metals can be stored in our organs like the liver. We can get on the whole microplastics thing as we're drinking out of a nice cup of coffee here. But people struggle to detoxify things and sauna can be really helpful for that.
Yeah, I think, like I said, for example, my sauna, I'll give you guys a bit of a cost. Mine was just under $3,000, right? But and that sounds like a big investment.
Black Friday.
Yeah, and it is, right? It is a big investment. Also, Nook Saunas, AFN 200, if you want a cheeky discount there. I'll throw them a little a cheeky one. But
there's a plug.
Yeah, nice little plug for them. So,
no, that's fair. That's
if anyone wants a good sauna, like they're really, really good. Come to your house, do it in 15 minutes. But when you talk through these saunas, right, and I've spent the $3,000, right, but what I was doing was twice a week I was going to a different place, spending, $30 to $40 per session and doing the sauna there.
Was that City Cave?
Yeah, City Cave.
Shout out to them because they were fantastic. I went to the same one.
In Braybrook, they were very, very good. Might get a partnership going with them soon, so we'll see what I can do there as well. But yeah, really, really good. And same thing, the one thing I like about that was that it still forced me to go, whereas when I had the sauna now in my house, I feel like it's almost too convenient. And now I really need to book time and be like, I can just do it later. When you actually book an appointment where you have to go, it forces you to actually sit there, take the hour, and then go.
So we could segue really that onto our next topic, which we didn't actually have this one on the list, but fuck it, I'll throw it in as a curveball now. Home gym. Like the convenience of, some people like to go to the gym, they have a membership, they're paying for it, they know they have to go, even though a lot of people don't when they're paying still. But some people will be like, I just need to be around people, even though they don't want to be around people, like, because the equipment's been taken or whatever, but it's like, they just need that, like, in neurolinguistic program, it's called a pattern interrupt. When we can become homebodies, we work from home, train from home, everything. It's just like a pattern interrupt is sometimes just getting out of your different environment, right? And it's interesting that you've got that barrier of like, this is too convenient now. So would a home gym, which sounds amazing for people, but are you really going to have a hack squat machine sitting in your garage? I could see it from a cardio standpoint, like if you had like an elliptical and you wanted to say, watch TV or bike, or, you've got the walking treadmill at home because we're in winter and, forecast tomorrow is going to be 95% rain. So it's like, these things can really help. So I would actually put it in the underrated category just because I think for the right person, it could be really good and from a convenience standpoint. Yeah.
And I think going back to, the cost per dollar, I would have easily spent that within a year anyway. And I know now this is an investment, for the next 10, 15, 20 years. The tax discount helps as well. So it is one thing that, I would classify definitely as underrated. Moving on from that, massage guns. Yeah. I'm actually really like in the middle here because of the cost, because they're so cheap and, you can use them for 5-10 minutes and it just helps. Obviously, obviously something's tight. It's going to help loosen up a bit. That's probably going to de-stress you a little bit more, regulate your nervous system a bit more. So I do think it's quite an quite effective method for that sort of thing. But I think people then take it way too far in terms of using it every day for half an hour. And then of course there can be some adverse benefits of being too loose, because muscles need to be tight or they're tight for certain reasons.
I think they're overrated. I'll just put it in the overrated camp. Like, for example, back when I was a PT, there was this one dude who spent $600 on a massage gun. And what he would do was he'd use it as a flex between his clients. Like, he'd just walk up to his clients and just sort of like during the session, just like, prod on their legs and stuff in between sets and all this stuff. And I was just like, it's not doing shit.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, psychologically you'd think, something going, like that'd be, it would evoke something to be like, this must be doing something, right?
Yeah.
And it does slightly, again, going to help loosen up things. But when you're training, you probably don't want that, right? You actually want to be tight. You want the muscles to be, contracting. So it can actually have the opposite effect. So
I would say it's causing more damage and muscle fatigue by literally just pounding into a muscle while it's already just had a stressful load under it.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, it's the devil's in the dose, isn't it? It's like you're doing it for a couple of minutes at home every night to just help you de-stress, little knot in your neck or something, awesome. Yeah, if you're doing it past that, then that can run into some issues, I'd say.
Is it worth $600? Now, I'm just saying, they're probably a lot cheaper than that now.
I got one for $30.
There you go. Yeah, but this was like back in the day, and it was more of a status flashy thing. I'm talking like 2019, so it's like back then. This was when the massage gun hype was really sort of getting out there. It was a big thing. And again, like I said, benefits are definitely overrated at the end of the day, but a cheap excuse to just get a bit looser and probably feel a little bit better as well. Next, we will go through, we'll do water filters. So I think this is quite an interesting one because I've probably changed my mind on this a fair bit as well. I still probably sit somewhere in the middle just because, again, of the cost.
But again, it's going to come down to the person, right? So say for me, I was getting sick a bit more often. We know there's, a lot more research lately to say that there's issues with our water. It's not as good as it once was, right? So for me, at the start, it was like, am I going to get, replace my whole water system with filtered water? Probably not. For someone who's like, I need to do this, but they're not drinking 2 liters of water a day, again, not worth it. But for me now, after, doing the training, doing the nutrition, looking for that extra 5%, I would say that it is now become something that's underrated for me, for sure.
Gotcha. I still think it's underrated just because so many of the health benefits, like we have so many heavy metals, endocrine disrupting chemicals, bacteria, all that stuff. Like think about it. When was the last time you checked your pipes?
Never.
You never do. And we have like a lot of like stuff that's flushed down the drain or sink or whatever it may be. A lot of copper. This is where copper heavy metal toxicity comes in. When that overloads in our body, we deplete zinc, which is an essential nutrient, and then it affects like our thyroid and everything. And I see this time and time again, drinking honestly pure filtered water, and they're not as expensive as everyone makes them out to be. If you go on this company, it's called Ace Bio, you can get one for $200 and it lasts 6 months. And you just have to buy a little replacement and just do a change every now and then.
How much are the replacement filters?
They're about like $49.50 around there, not including shipping. But you can, buy multi-packs and stuff.
Cool.
But the other one is shower filters. People don't think about it, right? But a lot of people are having like, one touchy subject for a lot of men is hair loss. And, if you're getting all those heavy metals and everything in your hair and you find after a shower it's damaging your hair or you're getting flaky skin or a whole bunch of stuff, it's like, try a shower filter. I've got one that I bought from Bunnings. It was like just over $100 and it's infused with vitamin C. And one of my mates is a plumber. Shout out to you, Joel. He installed it for me. But, all these small little investments, it's like, think about it. You're paying $100-something, but you're showering every single day. It's like the trade-off is just a no-brainer for me. And I still think it's very underrated.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people that, like I said, it comes down to that cost versus benefit ratio. Some people will get to a point where they're like, I'm not ready to make that cost to benefit yet. But then as they, continue through their health journey, they go, okay, this is starting to make more sense.
How about a mattress? A mattress and a pillow. So we can tell a little small story of Josh had to move his life for 2 weeks to our parents' house to look after the dogs while they were away. And he just could not stop talking about how shit the bed was.
It was a prison bed. It actually felt like I was sleeping on, like it was so hard. And my girlfriend agreed. She's like, this is like the hardest bed I've ever slept on by a country mile. No idea how my parents do it. So shout out to them. But
so many people don't realize you spend a third of your life on that bed, on that mattress, on the pillow. So it's like, why wouldn't you get a postural pillow or one that's suited to your neck or one that aligns your spine perfectly? Because it honestly makes the biggest difference. Yeah.
I think, like I said, you're sleeping for a third of your life. So, investing in a good mattress, investing in a good pillow, investing in obviously good sleep hygiene, blackout blinds, all those sort of things that are going to help you, recover better and sleep better ultimately are going to enable you to recover better as a human being. So I think that's one we didn't have on the list, but really underrated just in terms of improving sleep quality overall.
Yeah, but think about it. Like what we touched on at the start of this podcast is like people are just marketed 24/7. Someone goes on a podcast, someone's got sponsors, someone's got all this. So the biggest one you've probably heard of is Eat Sleep. Now, I can't afford to Eat Sleep. They're like
mental.
They're like $4,000 or something a pod or something. I don't know.
Plus, it's a reoccurring subscription.
Yeah, reoccurring subscription, just cheeky. Like Aura. Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
But in terms of that, right? Like I've heard all the health benefits. If I had the money, I'd get one, right? Like it does seem like there are so many benefits there. But at the same time, it's like, I don't have the money and I don't need to make that investment. I've got a king size bamboo mattress. I've got an Eco's, a postural pillow, and I still sleep like a baby. So it's like, okay, I don't need to make that investment, but I still made an initial investment on my pillow and mattress.
Yeah. And I think it's, like I said, it's about finding that, the balance again, back to that cost versus benefit ratio, finding something that works, at your level, what you can afford and then what benefit you're going to get out of that as well. So really important to weigh that up.
We can segue what we just mentioned about the podcasters and sponsorships and all that stuff into one that's a really popular one, greens powders, because everyone is sponsored by AG1 at the moment.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, I think the concept of the greens powder is good overall. But once you find out,
right?
Exactly, convenience. But once you find out what people, what they actually put into it, and it's just more overhyped than what it is, rather than just, eating a few vegetables. I think for a lot of people, it's just an excuse to not eat vegetables and be like, oh, I'll just, drink them. As opposed to, you're going to eat vegetables, you're going to probably digest and absorb them better. Satiation's going to be there rather than drinking them. There's a whole heap of benefits to drinking.
There's micronutrients, there's digestive enzymes, there's literally, and some people go a little bit woo-woo, but they call it life force stuff, like life force nutrients and life force energy. When people have been really, really sick, they just go on these, certain diets and stuff. There's stuff that's grown from certain soils and ground. The micronutrients is a lot better, but I will say, I went through a phase where I was taking greens powder, empty stomach, mixing with ginger every single morning, and I still had gut issues. Then I started eating 250 to 500 grams of veggies a day, and what do you know? They disappeared. And I was like, I'm not constipated anymore. I'm doing a lot better. And so a greens powder wasn't saving me. And I looked at all the ingredients of this stuff. I did my research. There were two ones that I really enjoyed and I thought they were really good products. But in terms of results, right, I don't take them anymore.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And again, like I said, we've said it 100 times already, cost, convenience, it comes back to those sort of things. But I think for most people, like, you're going to get a much better benefit just having vegetables rather than, and you're probably being marketed and sold a green powder for someone's, 10% discount so they can get an affiliation code as well, which I find interesting.
We could talk about that, right? Because there was a study that came out where they would tested AG1 specifically, and it had like 9 times the amount of heavy metals that was recommended by the FDA, or at least regulation from a safe consumer standpoint.
Herbalife killed people.
Herbalife. That was a big one. I mean,
but Cristiano Ronaldo endorses it, 500 million followers or whatever. So it's that sort of thing.
It's the hard, I didn't know he endorsed that. But
he did at one point.
Well, money talks. Of course. But sign the contract. But that's the thing, right? Like, you are constantly marketed to by so many people, and it really just does come down to, like, who do you trust? Like, do you trust that the person is not a salesman? Are they in business for the right thing? Did they create a product that they're like, okay, the market doesn't have these products, but we will create one, essentially. And, that's where I've seen with greens powders. I've come to the understanding that I think they're overrated.
Yeah, for sure.
In the overrated category for me.
I think the other one I want to cover is electrolytes. So I found, for me personally, this was one where I probably find slightly underrated because they're generally a bit cheaper and you can get a pretty decent load of sodium potassium, because when people train, like, the main reason is they are always going to be, potentially dehydrated, depending on when they're training as well. If it's first thing in the morning or after work, they're either not drinking enough water, not keeping hydrated. Obviously, as a society, we don't have an issue with sodium, right? No. A lot of the packaged food and that, so we don't have the issue there. But more potassium and magnesium, especially, like I said, around that training window, I find for, you get probably, 40 serves for $40 these days. So for $1 a serve, depends on which one, of course. But I think it's Rule 1 Lights I've used, and then I've also used the bulk nutrients ones, which obviously contain calories as well. So when I'm bulking up, I can use that as well. And the calories, of course, are just coming from mainly sugars
and the carbs,
and glucose, which is fine. But I would say probably over anything, I'd probably say they're underrated, provided you can absorb them in your gut, and you're someone who generally knows you'll probably get another 5-10% out of it just because of the dehydration effect around training.
Definitely. I mean, you want one with a higher potassium ratio to sodium ratio. A lot of them just go 200 milligrams of sodium, 80 milligrams of potassium. It's like, no, you want that kind of the opposite. And I will say, like, you look at Hydrolyte tablets, they're so convenient. You get them from any Chemist Warehouse, but a lot of them do have like the 15, 20, 25 grams of sugar purely from the glucose. But it's like, okay, it's still sugar and calories. You do need to take that into consideration. The ones you mentioned are brilliant because they are pretty much 0 calories, or they have something added to it. I use the ones by Seeking Health, or my favorite of all time is Ghost Hydration. Ghost Hydration, naturally sweetened, tastes amazing. The profile on it is unreal.
Yeah, interesting. I think we're going to continue on this sort of supplement route, and we're going to talk about multivitamins, because I think these are, you really teeter sort of in the middle, I think, of these, because it's really just about the brand you pick at the end of the day. I think a lot of people... Does
it actually contain the vitamins in it?
Yeah.
This is the hard part.
Exactly right. And you find, again, with multivitamins, there will be multiple vitamins. So some of these vitamins, I don't think people realise will compete to enter the bloodstream as well. So it's something that, you need to be... you need to think about, because if you're getting a certain type of magnesium, then a certain type of potassium, and then a certain type of something else, and then there are things competing, it says there are 200 different vitamins and minerals here, but maybe only 30 are getting absorbed potentially.
Yep.
And then you might not be having it with fats, which again, a lot of them might be needed to be absorbed as well. But I think the general, like, was it anything on iHerb pretty good? Like what, Now Foods,
Thorn.
What else have we got? Bioceuticals, very good.
Bioceuticals is good. In terms of a multi, I'd actually just give it to those three.
Yeah.
There's like other like natural sort of beef multivitamins from like Chief and stuff like that. They do like kind of like nature's multivitamin, which is like beef organs and stuff, which is a really high bioavailable form of them. But again, you could have potential for overload if you don't need some of them.
Yeah, for sure. Pre-workout, I reckon that's a
Overrated.
very interesting one. Yeah, I would say they're overrated as well.
Yeah.
But the reason being, you can probably get the same pre-workout out of just coffee.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a much better source. And a lot of people, they're adding in fat burners, they're adding in, all this stuff that generally is just making you sweat a bit more, right? So yes, you may burn another 20 calories throughout the day, right? But I think it's the illusion the fat burner creates, right? It's creating that illusion that like I'm sweating, it's raising my heart rate, so it must be doing more.
Yeah.
When generally speaking, for me, I know people are different, but if I have something like a pre-workout and I've got too much stuff going on, like I can't concentrate, I get anxious and I'm jittery and I can't perform at my best. So I find caffeine with L-theanine is a great little sort of,
you watch my video.
Yeah, I've had the caffeine L-theanine capsules for years. But yeah, they're a really good one as well. Caffeine L-theanine capsules basically gives you obviously the boost in performance with caffeine, and then L-theanine sort of helps calm you down a bit. So it's a bit more of that sort of drive and focus without the jitters of, like the beta-alanine and other things that, they just put in. And again, you don't know what's in it half the time. A lot of them, aren't really tested well, and not really knowing exactly, what the ingredients are and what the dosages are too.
Yeah, I mean, you're honestly paying for expensive water or expensive caffeine at the end of the day on a lot of these things. And yeah, some people, honestly, it gives them the shits. Like their stomach can't actually agree with what they're taking. It's a very common thing for someone to be like, had my pre-workout and then I went to the gym and pretty much shat myself straight away 1 second into squats. It's like, there's ingredients in this that will mess you up.
Yeah, and I think that's what people don't realise. It's like if their digestion's getting affected, then it's still going to affect your performance in one way or another. So it is one thing where I think if you're, especially when you're training at night, it's like if you need a pre-workout to do that and like get you pumped up, it's like just be careful, because again, that's going to then go into your sleep cycle and you're probably just getting yourself further and further down into that like debt of recovery and fatigue, and it's going to take a long time to to bring that back, because then you're going to want another scoop, then another scoop. And it's like you're building that tolerance, and then the caffeine gets higher. You sleep, even though if you're sleeping the same amount, your quality is just getting lower and lower, and that's why you're always fatigued, and you might not be progressing in your workouts and wondering what's going on. So something to really look out for there. But overall, I'd say they are definitely overrated.
It's good that you mentioned that, because people don't realize like it's a slow burn. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a real slow burn of like, oh, maybe I feel like another one today, or I feel like I need a little bit, like maybe 1.5 scoops to get it going. And then 6 months later, you realize, your nervous system's shot.
Yeah, exactly right. The same thing happens with caffeine. So it's one thing to just be aware of. Like if you're going from, 2 coffees to 5 coffees, it's like, okay, probably time to pull it back a bit, But if you're having, the occasional second or third coffee, it's like, you're probably fine, again, without, trying to get away from that sleep window. But that's something that I'd definitely say, caffeine would probably be, by itself, very underrated, provided you keep it away from sleep. It's going to help with exercise performance and obviously, mental performance as well. One thing I do want to talk about in terms of not just physical, but mental performance is creatine.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's probably the most underrated supplement out there. And like I said, it's not just from that physical, I guess the easiest way to look at it is creatine's probably going to give you another rep or two in the gym, is the easiest way to sort of look at it in terms of performance. But a lot of the research now has been shown cognitively, especially for people who are, say 40, 50 plus, really improving their cognitive benefits as well, which I find really, really interesting.
Yeah, and it goes more than just the 5 grams daily, right? Like they're taking up to like 10, 20 grams, and purely for mental acuity, mood, all that stuff, reducing fatigue, they're finding it really, really beneficial.
Yeah.
And look, it's something we've known for a while, right? Like creatine's been studied for like 50 years. It's probably the most researched supplement on the planet. But But at the same time, we're just noticing more and more benefits coming out because it continues to be studied. And that's the exciting thing. In 20 years' time, there's probably going to be another benefit that we didn't know about, and we were taking it all along.
Yeah. And if you're a vegan vegetarian, I would strongly recommend you jump on creatine, because that's probably going to give you, a massive chunk of what you're missing from an energy, standpoint, micronutrient standpoint, as well with your creatine stores, because they will generally be a lot lower just from not eating meat. So I think, you guys doing that, you'll probably feel like a massive difference, like someone's giving you a shot of vitamin B and you're just like up and ready to go. I'd say after using creatine for a week, I've had clients, same thing, vegetarian, use creatine for a week, and they just feel like different people.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And we could also segue it into what we mentioned before about pre-workouts and caffeine and stuff. If you are training and you don't have much food in your system, creatine can really help with that pre-workout.
Sure. What's your pre-workout concoction again? Honey?
So it's honey, banana, creatine, and coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want, you can literally just get like 200 mils of water and actually just blend it all up. Not the coffee in there as well. Like you can have that separately, but like, a little bit of creatine, banana, honey, blend it up and then just down it. Because look, if you're waking up at 5 a.m, the last thing you want to do is sit there and just chew away at a banana or anything like that. Like I find, just from pure digestibility standpoint and convenience sake, you just quickly blend it.
Yeah, it's funny. I did like this last Saturday, like every Saturday I train pretty much fasted, but I actually bought the honey and I was like, put a teaspoon in and I just mixed it into my double shot.
There you go.
And it was funny, like I had that with obviously electrolytes as well when I was doing my workout, but I feel like I did feel quite a noticeable difference.
Yep. If you track your weight, you realize the numbers just don't lie, because then you're like, oh my God, what the hell? I went up like 2 reps on this.
Feel good today.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works. Anything else that we need to cover?
No, I think we've covered quite a bit.
Yeah. Perfect, guys. Well, that'll give you a really good understanding into, what we think is overrated, what we think is underrated, and then what we think is actually, worth your time when it comes to these health investments and supplements and things like that, guys. But again, if you have any questions, make sure you shoot myself a DM at Action Fitness Nutrition or Liam at Coach Liam C. Murphy. But until next time, guys, we'll see you in the next podcast.
See you guys.